Hello, Thought Warriors. What is up? Higher Learning is on. It's Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel and Lindsay.
We have Nina Turner coming on the podcast from Ohio City. By the way, she's going to correct the record on some of the things that people have said about her and that even we said about her as we introduced her. So,
which I like. I like that.
Talk your shit.
Bring that energy in. I've been looking forward to this conversation. So,
so she's going to join us a little bit. We talked to her for about an hour. All right, about an hour.
Which we promised her we wouldn't do.
We promised her we wouldn't talk to her. Talk to her for about an hour. Rachel and I went to the Clips concert.
We did. Thank you, Van. Van hooked it up.
Saturday night.
Me and Kalika.
With me, Kalika, Rachel. There were many suitors for Rachel.
That is
at the Clips concert. We should talk about it.
True.
Niggas was coming up to me.
There wasn't
was
one.
Playing. A lot of niggas. Rachel got asked out a couple of times by a couple of people. I don't think that she thought she was going to get asked out by those people. But, shout out to my homeboy. Shout out to Sean Dickerson. We rode around in Sean Dickerson's Maybach.
Sean was, he hooked us up. I felt like we were riding in style the whole time.
Sean got the Maybach. Sean come picked us up with the Maybach. He act like he don't be doing shit. He be doing the most. but shout out to Sean Dickerson. Everybody that we ran into that night, a special appreciation from the Clips themselves, from Malice and Pusha T. Shout out to all the love and hospitality and everything that they showed.
It was a great show.
Night. It was a great show.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Kendrick popped out. Crazy.
At the beginning.
All right. So since we're talking about rappers, let's continue to talk about rappers. You guys know how much I love talking about rappers. Donnie, first topic.
Yeah. Snoop was on the It's Giving podcast recently and talked about taking his grandkids to go see the Lightyear movie a couple years ago.
I took my grandson to see, what was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
Yeah, with Keke Palmer is in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Keke's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, it's fuck me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
Okay, so a couple of things here. This is another example of why I told you that we should have gone out to see the Lightyear movie in droves, okay? Because this is what happened. The movie came in light, and then it was carte blanche for everybody to criticize the movie or whatever. Oh, we'll go broke, whatever. Put that to the side. I'm going to do something for the homies, for all of the homies, other older homies. I'm going to tell them two things. One, just so you know, it's your job to explain things to kids. That's your job. So if you don't want to explain things to children, then you should not be around children, because children are going to ask you to explain everything. They're going to ask you to explain oxygen, why the sky is blue, why this, why that. It's kids. So because that's what they're going to do, it's actually your responsibility to develop the language in order to explain things to children. And straight black brothers, it's your job to explain sexual diversity and orientation to younger kids. So rather than lament the fact that that's your job, learn how to do it. Very simple. Uncle Van, how can two women have a kid? Well, they either adopted the kid or one woman was inseminated and then they have the kid. The most important thing is, younger brother, is that loving families come in all different types of ways. Well, why are two women together? Because it's very simple. Some boys like boys. Some girls like girls. Some girls like boys and girls. Some boys like boys and girls. And everyone, as long as they're safe and consenting, can do whatever they want, and they should get the same type of love and appreciation and acceptance from everybody. You wouldn't want anybody getting on you for something that your body tells you to do, right? For who you are naturally. You don't want anybody making those determinations or teasing you because you're black or because you're from Baton Rouge or because you talk a certain way or because you look a certain way. That's why it's bad to do that to other people, because we shape their lives in negative ways. So look at people and understand and accept that God created everybody in different, diverse ways. And that's the reason why we should love them. That's it. That's all you got to do. And when I say this, man, I'm telling you, that's all you got to do. The question I'm asking to all of y'all that make this same tired-ass argument every time you have to answer a question from a child about this is, do you want to do it? That's why it's up to us to develop the language to explain our situations and contextualize them before we give it back to the younger generation. Because if we're not dealing with our shit, how can we answer their questions? So in all of this time and all of this stuff, like, work on it, do it. But coming back and being like, I don't want to have to, if you don't want to have to do it, then don't take the kid. The kid gonna have questions about everything. It's your job to answer the questions for the kids. Mm-hmm. Because I can tell you one thing, if that situation was different, if that kid came up and asked Snoop, yo, Uncle Snoop, Granddad Snoop, whatever, how do I talk to girls? I bet you got an answer for that question.
Sure.
Yo, Uncle Snoop, how do I get money? How do I rap? I bet you got an answer for that question because you've thought about it. You've considered it. And you've made a value system about what a young man should learn. Do you think it's even important that a young man learns how to be a good member of his community for the people in his community that are marginalized or persecuted? Is that even important to you? Is it important to you that a young man knows how to protect the people in his society or community that are not protected? Does that even matter to you? Because if it matters to you, then you'll be gleeful and happy to take that question on and make another good person. So whenever you make the decision to bitch about shit like this, you're making the decision to undergird the status quo, and I don't fuck with it. I think it's lazy, and I think it's ridiculous, and it's not just in the situation of Snoop. I think everybody who asks lazy, homophobic, idiotic questions like this, that you fall into the same fucking trough.
You said the word. It's homophobic. That's what it is. It is a homophobic thought. It is a homophobic comment that was made. And everything that you said is true and it's right. Because it's not that he's going to answer the questions about a woman or about money or about rapping because he's thought about it. It's that it's not just that he's thought about it, he's comfortable with those things. He likes those things. The reason he didn't want to talk about these things is because they make him uncomfortable. He has some sort of issue with it, which makes these comments homophobic. That's what it is. You have to call it like it is. And so for that, because it's that, it goes beyond disappointing. Because here's the thing. Let's just say I don't know with certainty, but I'm pretty sure his grandchild has watched The Lion King. That means that if he watched that movie, or for any parent whose kid watched this movie and maybe they had a problem with it and they watched something like The Lion King, that means that you deal with death in a very tragic way. Your child is most likely going to ask you about death. It's probably the first time they're going to see it, maybe. It's traumatic, it's gut-wrenching, and you have to explain death to a child. There are other themes within that movie. There's birth in that movie. You have to maybe explain that. There's jealousy. There's resentment. You see brothers that don't get along. There are all these questions that arise from a movie, and I have yet to really hear somebody complain about a movie like that. But all of a sudden, when it deals with same sex or being anything a part of the queer community, it's a problem that you don't want to ask questions about when there are a lot of themes that bring questions up for children in these animated movies. So when you scrap all of that away, it's homophobic.
On the latest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, he had this to say about the first few months of Trump's second term.
I don't know if I was the first one to use the phrase slow-moving coup. I know I was using it before he was... Thank you. I know I was using it before he was president the first time. So maybe somebody got to it first. I don't know. And people were laughing at it. I mean, whenever I said he was never going to concede power, they would say, oh, you smoke too much pot. Well, it turned out I smoked just the right amount of pot. So now, what's going on in Washington, D.C.? I'll ask you this first. Because he does this magic trick. You know, he's passing out pizza, and it's all about big balls, and we're all laughing at what's going on in D.C. Yeah, he's passing out pizza to the troops. If there was a slow-moving coup, let me just describe some of the steps, and you tell me if I'm being paranoid. First, create a masked police force. Get people used to looking at that. Normalize snatching people off the street. Get them used to that. Normalize seeing the National Guard and the military on the street. Then start talking about crime in the capital, which is basically, has always been a fairly crime-ridden city. This is our nation's capital where elections are decided. And then because the crime is so bad, have other states start sending their troops, not just the National Guard there in D.C., but now at least 6 other states are sending their troops, which then Trump can then federalize.
Rachel, let me ask you a question. Who's your favorite pedophile?
Sorry, man, I don't have one.
Donnie, who's your favorite pedophile?
Same answer.
Ashleigh?
I do not know.
Okay,
Ashleigh, you don't have one.
Okay, I'll ask the question in a different way. Rachel, who's the nicest pedophile you know?
There's no such thing.
Donnie?
I don't know any pedophiles.
Just in culture, the nicest pedophile you know. Okay, good. Ashleigh, nicest, most palatable pedophile. Your favorite one.
I don't have an answer.
You don't have one. Okay, cool. Do you know why?
Why?
Because once somebody is identified to you as a pedophile, you fail to judge them as anything other than a pedophile, which makes a lot of sense. Because once someone has done something that is so bad or at cross purposes with the way you look at the world to such a degree, you stop looking for reasons to say, oh, that guy's a nice guy. And I guess my question for the Bill Mahers of the world is, Trump, who is the president, who Bill Maher has before the election and then since the election identified as an enemy of democracy and an enemy of freedom in this case, why did you describe him as such a nice guy? What is the fascination with laundering the reputation of someone who is capable of such abusive, restrictive, and un-American crime as a coup or is trying to take people's rights? Why isn't Trump somebody who we judge by the worst things that he does with power? Because I distinctly remember Bill Maher going down to have dinner with President Trump when President Trump was when Bill Maher was flirting with a direct rightward shift and becoming an acolyte of MAGA, which is exactly what was happening. I remember him going down there and telling us how nice of a guy he was and how easy it was to have a conversation with him and conjecturing that he was able to have conversations with Donald Trump that he doesn't think that he would be able to have with Barack Obama or some guys on the left. Yeah. Look, I don't know how he communicates. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But then the fire gets turned up again and we start to see what nice guy, easy to talk to guy, easy to have dinner with guy, good old fashioned slap on the back cool guy Donald Trump is capable of. And all of a sudden, Bill Maher is back to the I told you so's. Mm-hmm. He's back to the, oh my God, things are going to get as bad as I said they were going to get again. And this is the soft power of white supremacy, that there's still a human in there for him. Doesn't matter what Donald Trump does. There's still a look. I got to tell you about the guy. I got to tell you how awesome the guy is. Obviously I understand it, but if he's such a bad guy and he's going to do all of these things that you said he was going to do before and that he's doing now, why'd you go down to Mar-a-Lago to lick his dick? I don't get that part. Like, why?
I think there are certain people who are just so, and I have no idea why, because I'm with you on that. And I love everything that you said. To me, he lost all credibility after having dinner at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump and then his response thereafter. So when Bill Maher goes to Mar-a-Lago, it had been around 90 days since Trump had been in office in this new administration, second time. Here are some of his greatest hits within those 90 days. We had the Tariff War. We had Doge on a rampage. We had the immigration policies that he put out there. You had massive cuts of federal employees of different departments. You had him threatening news outlets, calling for their licenses to be revoked. He had offered clemency to those who, in connection to attack on the Capitol for January 2020, for January 6th. He had blamed DEI on that midair collision, that tragic midair collision over the Potomac. He ordered diversity efforts to be shut down. The list goes on and on and on and on. Things that he had done that you had known, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. As you were walking to dinner with Mar-a-Lago, all the things have been out there. Then as I was looking at this, I was like, he went on Chris Cuomo before he got his invitation. Sat down with Chris Cuomo and he talked about why he had accepted that invitation, that dinner invitation from President Trump. Bragged about his friendship with Kid Rock, who is racist and homophobic as well. And then he talked about also what he hoped to come of that dinner. And some of the things that he said was he opened up about how he had been critical of both political parties and how people had lost trust in these institutions. But he said that he had the credentials to walk into that dinner and sit down with Trump. He said that there was no one harder on Trump than he has been. He said that he's an honest person. And he said, if they expect me to leave like Kanye, if they expect me to leave in like Kanye in a MAGA hat, they will be disappointed. And when I see how he walked into that, I don't know if I believed him or not, but then how he came out, to me, it was worse. Because not only did he come out complimenting President Trump, he came out trying to convince us to believe those same things, as if we would be duped or drink the Kool-Aid in the same way that he did. To me, that's worse. It's not like he just stood by it and was like, this is what I think because I had this personal one-on-one experience. I am now trying to convince you to do those same things. And now, since time has passed, Trump has done even more. And it's not like, as I just said, some of the things he did in those first 90 days were horrendous as well, or we're planting the seed for the things that he's doing now. But he came back basically with a verbal love letter about Donald Trump. And then now, he wanted us to believe those same things, and then now he wants us to believe the things that he's saying now. I watched you fold like a flower after you came from Mar-a-Lago. I have no respect for anything that you say now because I feel like anytime you're put in front of Trump, you had a unique opportunity to confront him on the things that you had said before to your audience, to the public. And instead of doing that, you talked about how funny he was, how you can get along with him versus other presidents, as you had mentioned, and what a good time you had with everybody else. So what credibility do you have now to talk about this slow-moving coup and have your audience clap for you or want to pat on the back because you're calling out the thing Trump has done? Because we know when you are face-to-face with him, it's a completely different story.
Okay, so I'll say this, a couple of things. Number one, in his, I think it was 12-minute monologue about that, he did talk about some things that he felt like he called President Trump on. He did say that. All right, number one. Just want to make sure that we're accurate.
Nothing in the way that he does on his show.
I want to make sure we're accurate here. He did say that he called President Trump on a couple of things. Another thing is this. The things that you read off in that first 90 days, I think that Bill Maher agrees with those things. I think that's the thing. I think that he's anti-DEI. I think all of that stuff that you're talking about, I don't know that there's anything in there that jumps out at me with that he would hate. And this is a part of it, right? A part of it to me is the things that happened early on in the administration that Donald Trump said that he was doing. I heard a lot of people saying, well, Doge is going to find waste, fraud, and abuse. What's wrong with that? DEI is reverse racism. What's wrong with that? Like, we do need to overhaul our immigration system. What's wrong with that? I think that there were people who, despite January 6th, despite all of the carnage that we had seen with the big lie, despite the first Trump administration, still gave President Trump the benefit of the doubt. They still gave him the benefit of the doubt that he was going to come in, things were not going to be chaotic, he was not going to attack people's civil liberties, he wasn't going to attack the rule of law, he wasn't going to be an authoritarian, he wasn't going to do any of that stuff, that he was just going to come in and get America back on track. And the question that I'm asking is why? Like Bill Maher, President Trump has forced people like Bill Maher away from him. And the only reason why is because it's not because of Bill, in my opinion. It's because there are people out there that need to have credibility with audiences, that the audience asks you, hey, the audience made up of people who can just see things. I keep saying this and nobody believes me. I go on CNN and I'll be on Abby's show, and I'll be sitting around a group of Republicans or people, and I'll say, hey, I want to let you guys know this, that Americans are going to see people in the streets, like the military in the streets of DC and Chicago, and they're not going to like that. And Americans are going to see people jumping out of, and these are people who may have voted for Donald Trump. Americans are going to see people jumping out of unmarked vehicles to snatch people up. They're going to see people being ripped away from their parents. They're not going to like that. It's going to make them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have to square that with them in front of a mic and say why that guy is your guy. And we've already seen it. We've already seen Flagrant. We've already seen Rogan. We've already seen Tim Dillon. We've already seen Theo Vaughn. We've already seen places that were pretty supportive of the president have to like square it with their audiences and have a conversation about why some of this stuff that he's doing they actually don't like. My question goes back to earlier on, be it Bill Maher or anybody else, was there a responsible and adequate conversation about what the president was saying he was going to do before he got there by some of these people with some of these platforms? Were the questions asked, we talk a little bit about this with Senator Turner, was there actual interrogation of what the president's agenda was and how that was going to affect people? Or were you just happy that you could say the R word again? And so to me, when I look at Bill, I'm like, yo, Bill Maher's show is goated, it's minted, it's not going anywhere. Every time he says a syllable, the audience claps. He's got complete control over them. But like, I sit down and I watch this stuff and you're sounding an alarm on Trump's terrifying, slow-moving coup. Man, you...
Yeah.
You was fucking with him. You were telling us what...
and trying to make us believe it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Donnie, what's the next one?
The next one is Dean Cain, former Superman and current ICE agent, appeared on Fox News this weekend, where we saw him going through a training course. And he's struggling. I don't know if y'all can see this.
Yeah, we saw it before, man. Rach.
I love it. This is probably my favorite video from these past few days.
So, I came here ready to shit all over Dean Cain.
Aw.
So this is the deal. I'm definitely gonna shit on Dean Cain being a part of ICE. Fuck ICE. 1,000%, 1,000,000%. Then I had to ask myself, how I would.
I was like, please don't go there.
I had to, I'm gonna come on here and give Dean Cain a bunch of shit because it's fuck ICE 1,000%. And fuck anybody who wants to launder ICE's reputation, which is what Dean Cain is doing. But then I had to ask myself, before I give Dean Cain the business about what he's doing, if you put me out there, because if you put me out there, we all know that the titties is going to make her, they're going to be out there. You might see the crack of my ass when I'm trying to go over some of these things. Just on the athletic fucking performance of Dean Cain, just on that, I can't throw stones and
yes,
hide
you
my
can.
hands
And let me
there.
tell you why.
All right, cool.
You would never have it recorded. You'd never have. First off, you wouldn't sign up. You might
talked about this. I recorded the sparring. And
That's because like as a person who does not know, has never seen sparring before, or I shouldn't say like that. I've seen sparring, but like I'm not an expert. I watch you and I'm like, okay, look, he's in there doing his thing, right? But I can clearly look at this obstacle course and tell Dean Cain is not. Now, I feel like if you had seen the obstacle course, you might be like, hey, can we cut the cameras? Let me just do a practice run through. Let me just try to figure it out. Let me see the footage first.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dean saw it. Dean didn't care. I'm not quite sure. But don't compare yourself to this because I don't think you would ever let it get this far. One, you would never sign up. But just say you were doing it for fun. You would never let it get this far to where you would, if you saw yourself looking like that you would then allow that for public consumption. You just wouldn't, unless it was for fun. Dean Cain was very serious
Yeah, he was.
in here. And I love this video because I see this and I said, sign him up. Sign him up. Sign anybody else who's on this level. 59 years old and out of shape. Because ain't nobody getting caught.
I think what Dean did was, one time it was a dunk video, right? I think we played the dunk video. It's 39. And when you dunk that bitch, when it goes in, all you think to yourself is, damn, I dunked. Then you watch the video, play the video, and you just get off the ground. You're stretching out like the Jordan symbol to just get over the rim, and you see the whackness that is you. The whackness. Dean Cain, while he was going through the ice obstacle course, was probably like, I'm the fucking man. Superman who, nigga? The fuck? Like, fuck that shit. I'm Dean Cain. I'm George Tanaka. And I nailed this shit. I'm the one. Send me a bad hombre and I'ma catch him. And then you watch it, and you might as well put the Benny Hill music underneath Dean Cain being on the motherfucking obstacle course, man. Dean probably thought he was doing his shit, and he also was probably responding to all of these people that said he ain't got it no more. You got to think about Dean Cain.
You sure told them, Dean.
Dean played football at Princeton or something like that. And then he almost made it to the NFL.
These are all past tense.
Dean in his mind, you know who Dean is? Dean one of the niggas playing. He one of the niggas playing in the U40 football. Dean one of the niggas playing. This was Dean. Dean
tears an ACL the first day.
This is Dean's. Dean should get, you know what? This is what I'm going to tell Dean. Dean, you ain't got to be for ICE. Because that's not really, all ICE is going to do, we don't like ICE. Dean should actually play safety in the U40 football league. That's something we could all get behind. If Dean would have done that, Dean said, I want to recapture my youth. I want to be relevant again. So I'm going to join ICE. ICE has become an oppressive, masked arm wing of the president's secret police, and we not fucking with ICE. And it don't matter who joins ICE, okay? It don't matter who. There's nobody who could join ICE right now, and I'm going to be like, go ICE. No one.
Nobody.
Okay? Nobody could join ICE. I'm going to be like, fuck, ICE is great. But if Dean actually played U40 football, got out there as safety.
And catch who?
Whoever.
My point is, nobody, again, we're in the same position. He ain't catching nobody.
I'm trying to tell Dean, I'm trying to help Dean. Dean, do that. Get out there and put your body on the line for not like this though.
I can't wait till somebody like jukes him.
Because
Dean's bold enough to not wear his mask.
Oh
Here
no,
I am.
Dean going out there.
Here
you know
I
what?
am.
Dean will go out there in the glasses like Clark Kent and think people can't fucking recognize him. Dean will go out there and put the glasses on. Hey, it's me.
With the
cape. Dean will go out there and do that. Dean, but here's the important thing about Dean. I just want to tell Dean one more time. Dean, like, people laughing at you, bro.
Fox and Friends are not your friends. For them to play that clip and put you out there, they are not your friends.
They fucking over you. And I know Dean been MAGA for a long time, so maybe this is his dream. They'll go out there. You know, people have these law enforcement dreams, but they're not. They fucking over you.
Even Dr. Phil isn't trying to he's out there too.
He went out there one time.
But he's not like out there trying to run and chase and go through obstacle courses. I'm not trying to give him anything. I'm just saying at least he knows his lane.
When Dr. Phil get fucked over, I'ma laugh.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, no. Hold on for a second. Dr. Phil has gone too far. When it happens to Dr. Phil, when the nigga golf Dr. Phil in his mouth, I'ma laugh, man. Dr. Phil, it's gonna happen to you. I've watched Dr. Phil in these conversations, and I watched him in a conversation with Chink from the Young Turks, who have plenty of disagreements with, you guys. Plenty of disagreements with. Like a deep wellspring of disagreements with Chink.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched him in this conversation with Dr. Phil, and Chink was trying to have it. He does this, good faith with MAGA thing now. Chink got this way of talking. We gotta understand that MAGA, the people, are not the enemy. You da-da-da-da-da. He's got this way of talking. But in his conversation with Dr. Phil started to frustrate him with the bullshit. And I got the feeling that in that situation, Chink was he was getting pissed off at Dr. Phil. Because Dr. Phil can get under a nigga's skin. He really can. So when it happens to Dr. Phil, I'm going to laugh, man.
In what way?
It's going to happen.
Physical way?
Whatever.
His media company already went bankrupt.
When it happens to Dr. Phil, I'm going to laugh. That's
I mean,
all
he
I'm
has a
saying.
new one now, but
That's all I'm saying.
the other one, with the soup kitchen was under went bankrupt.
It's like, what the? Oh, you like that?
Well, I'm saying you said when he gets it, I'm thinking his media company, and that's a big media company, went bankrupt. Now he has another one.
We haven't talked about soup kitchen lately.
There's nothing to say.
What you mean?
There's nothing to say. Kitchen's closed. What's next?
Serena, she recently talked about taking some weight loss medication after she was struggling to see results from diet and exercise after birthing her 2 daughters. Let's hear from Serena.
Well, a lot of people have been wondering about my new fitness journey and what I've been doing, and I've been really open about me being on GLP-1s. And I thought it was really important just to come out and say it. So I'm on a GLP-1 through Ro.co. And for me, it was really just about taking away that stigma of like, is it a lazy way? Is it a shortcut? Like, why would you do that? And so for me, like after having my first kid with Olympia, and then, in particular after having the second kid, I was never able to be at a healthy weight that I could be at, whether it was my joints or blood sugar levels. It was just always something that I suffered with. And a lot of women actually go through this. And I always said that I feel like, for me personally, I feel like, after I had my kids, after I got a tad bit older, like my body was actually missing something. No matter what I did, I literally was playing professional tennis. And you can even see, like, sometimes I had this really awesome documentary a few years ago, and you can see in the documentary my coach is telling me, you have to lose weight, you have to lose weight. I'm playing professional tennis, I'm literally training 5 hours a day, and I would always work my way to one point of the scale, and it would never go below that.
This had a lot of people talking. A lot of people were in support. And this is what I would say. We've talked about celebrities that I feel like are universally loved. I feel like Serena's up there. Serena almost has a don't mess with Serena mentality, protects her at all costs. So people were on both sides of the fence when it comes to this, because when it comes to weight loss drugs, a lot of people have strong opinions on them. So a lot of people were in support of Serena because they said, oh, she's taking control of her life. She was, was unhealthy in certain ways. She couldn't get off certain weight. She chose this method. Good for her. Other people felt like she was cheating. Other people didn't like that she said, hey, I'm on my fitness journey, when they feel like you used a weight loss drug to achieve that. You have been open about using a weight loss drug. I'm sure you saw the Serena of it all. What were your initial thoughts?
So first of all, about me being on a weight loss drug, I want to say something right now. These weight loss drugs can't fuck with me, right? My fat is better than these drugs. I didn't beat these drugs. Okay, I still take the Manjaro weekly.
Maybe you just need to up the dose.
And I'm at the highest level. I'm at the highest level of Manjaro, and I'm fucking over the Manjaro. Whatever scientist is out there that's inventing this shit, you can't fuck with me. I'm better than you. Everybody else lost 100 and fucking pounds. Me, I lose a half a pound every other month because I am the man. When it comes to fucking over a weight loss drug, send me whatever weight loss drugs you got.
It doesn't curb your appetite?
See, a little bit, but not to the point to where I'm not going to have some ice cream with the chocolate sundae. Not to the point to where I'm not going to do my thing. I get on the scale, and when I get on the scale and I go, yeah, nigga, I'm the man. I'm fat. Okay? And that's the way God made me. So your weight loss drugs and all of that shit, send them. Send me all of this shit. Nothing like
you've only done Manjaro.
I've only done Manjaro, and I lost some weight, right? And then my body got to the point where it said, no more. Fuck that shit. We done with that shit.
They need to study you.
Like they need to study me.
Need to study
all
you.
of this money they making, they need to study me.
They need to study you. Take the challenge on.
I am one of the people, I've beaten the weight loss drug. The weight loss drug can't do nothing to me. You never gonna look at me and look, that nigga Van looks sick. No, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen to me, right? Other people, you go, whatever. All right, so that's one thing. The second thing is this. So I think two things are happening here, if I'm being honest. Anybody who is saying that using a weight loss drug is cheating is, to me, silly. And I'll tell you why. It's a silly thing to say. Because there are myriad other drugs to control things, and those drugs are not cheating, right? If you're using a cholesterol drug to help control your cholesterol or to help control your blood pressure, there's technology that is invented that helps human beings with conditions, right? Being overweight is a condition. Now, is there a school of thought that goes, hey, it's probably better that you lose weight a natural way that supports all of the things that come along with that? Because you have to also remember, bone density, muscle density, all those other things that come along with working out and eating a healthy diet. Even eating a healthy diet, making the mental change and changing the neural pathways in your brain that change your eating habits, that's all part of a lifestyle correction, or a lifestyle, let me not say correction, a lifestyle choice that you make when you get healthy. Normally, all kinds of other things happen along with that. You start sleeping better. You start paying more attention to all different types of things when you're in that. And so a weight loss drug can't do those things for you. However, being chronically overweight or getting to a point where you can't lose weight anymore is an issue of personal health. And if there are things that aid you in your journey for personal health, those things have value to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about Serena Williams. There's a different component to this with her, though. One component with Serena Williams is her body and her body type for a long time represented for a lot of people in popular culture an embrace of the body of a certain type of woman. When my mama and them and other women from Louisiana that I know would see Serena Williams out there, a thick, muscular sister. I'm sorry to her husband to call her thick, but just thick, muscular sister out there dominating on the tennis court and being beautiful at the same time, being beautiful and desired and being a fashion icon and being all of those things at the same time. They felt a special connection to Serena Williams, if you ask me. I think there are some people, and this is not fair to her at all, but there are some people that look at her current size or the way that she's using the weight loss drug as a rejection of that body and that aesthetic.
Sure.
And I think that that's an underlying thing that's happening with the weight loss drugs, because what you're seeing is there are some people, and we talked a little bit about this, who in the past were body positivity people.
Correct.
They're part of the body positivity movement. And they were like, accept me as I am, accept me as I am. And the weight loss drugs, besides me, because I'm fucking over these weight loss drugs left and right, I'll throw the shit out of there, man. I can fuck over a workout. I think I'll run 5 miles. I'll come back and I gain 2 pounds. Because I'm on that shit. That's me, nigga. That's me, nigga.
Get back to it.
That's me.
Get back to it.
Okay? There's no calorie deficit that I cannot defeat. That's me, nigga. All right, but there are some people that look at they look at Ozempic, GLP-1s as actually exposing the insincerity of people that in the past, I'm not saying I agree with this.
No.
But
You're right.
exposing
It's
the
a
insincerity
conversation
of people that in the past were looking to, talk about the different types of bodies and the different body styles that we should be accepting of. They're looking at those people as people who all they actually wanted to be was skinny. And they're looking at dings in a movement. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily with Serena Williams, but I do know there being a lot of women that I've talked to, particularly women that I've talked to that go, damn, man, Serena don't want to be thick no more. And that has an effect on them. I'm not saying that that's fair, because if you listen to her, then it's about her life and her body, but I'm saying that they really feel that way.
No. Absolutely, for sure. I think when people say that it's cheating on your fitness journey is because, and I know these people, there are people who don't suffer from some of these things that like you said, there are drugs used to better your life. And this is a drug that can be used in that way. But there are people, as there are with other drugs, who abuse it, and they do they do want to achieve a certain look. They do want to cut corners. They don't want to have to work out. They don't want to pay all this money for procedures or whatever it may be. So they take the drug and it's not necessarily intended for them. I think we've even talked about that on this podcast because there's been a shortage of.
That's gone. That's out.
But there was. I'm saying we've
In the
talked about
past,
it.
there's
Yes,
been a
that's what I'm
shortage,
saying.
but
We've
now
talked about it. No, I'm not talking about.
The
I'm
drugs,
just saying.
their primary use is as weight loss drugs now.
Right, but I'm saying that there was a time when because people were abusing it and using it so much, that the people who actually need it could not get it. I think what's interesting here about Serena too is that like Jamila Jamil posted something on social media, and she always, I feel like when she posts something, it gets ripped apart for clickbait, and they always lose the context of what she's saying. I'm not saying she's right about every single thing, but in particular with this, I think her concern is well warranted because the beauty industry and beauty standards for women is just wild. I always say if I had a daughter, I would be so worried about her because of having to compare herself. We've always had it, right? There's always been commercials, there's been movies, music, whatever it may be, but not in this way. And with social media and with filters, and then young girls going into doctors' offices wanting to look like not just a celebrity, but a certain filter. They're trying to uphold these unrealistic beauty standards, and the age for doing that is getting younger and younger and younger. And they're finding different ways, whether it be a procedure, whether it be makeup, whether it be a drug to achieve that. And the danger in that is when you have somebody who's not a celebrity or who doesn't have the money to do it, then they're trying to achieve this look, and it can be they don't have the resources in place if there is a dangerous side effect or if they cut corners in trying to achieve it. And that's something that Jamila, we can put up her post for everyone to see because I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's long, but that's something that Jamila points out. There are very dangerous side effects with this drug, and she's concerned about that people might use them and don't have the money that a Serena Williams has in place to achieve that. She's not saying she doesn't need it. She's just saying that somebody else might look at that and say, now I want to look just like her. And this is what Serena did. So I'm going to do exactly that without getting the proper things in place that Serena had. In addition to that, she points out, Serena's husband is invested in the medicine that she's using. So there also is this thing of, well, their conversation around how authentic is the use of it when you're also just promoting your husband's business.
Riveting, fascinating. Once again, we can have a conversation about why Serena Williams felt the need to even have this conversation with people in the first place. Is because people sniffed it out and they demanded answers from her. She didn't come out and say this at first. People were like, she's on one of the drugs. That's what people say. You can't lose weight at all anyway without being on Ozempic now anymore.
Now, that is sad.
So it is what it is. So I don't know that she necessarily had that much choice in coming forward with this. It was going to dog her and continue to be a part of it, but
well, she's been speculated to have other procedures too, and she's not really come out about them. So I think it's interesting she came out with this one because her husband's invested in it.
Rachel, less charitable person in the world. This next one is a doozy. Donnie.
Yeah, Jussie Smollett's got a new documentary on Netflix. It's called The Truth About Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
He's still rejecting claims that the alleged hate crime was a hoax. Y'all watched it. What do you think?
Okay.
I watched it.
All right. Okay, so here's the deal. These are my takeaways. So if you guys watch the documentary, there is evidence that some of this evidence I had seen a little bit of it. Shout out to Jared Hill. There's evidence in the documentary that suggests that there are things that people were not paying attention to as it relates to Jussie's case. They talk deeply about the corruption inside of the Chicago Police Department, which I feel like a lot of people knew about, but they go even further to talk about the specific misconduct cases against the people that handle Jussie Smollett. I'll give the documentary credit for this. The brothers are interviewed in the documentary. The police are interviewed in the documentary.
Yeah, they got
everybody. This was not a documentary that was without pushback on Jussie's claims of innocence or the claims of guilt against him. This was what I like to call an old school documentary, to where it's not just coming from one side of it, right? I was impressed with the fervor that Jussie Smollett still defends himself with. I will say that. But there's nothing in the documentary that makes me believe that the determination of the jury in his case was wrong.
Mm.
There's nothing in the documentary.
So you don't believe? So you believe that he set it up? Okay.
Yes. And while I always leave room to believe Black people when they are talking about their issues with the state, or them being framed or set up or whatever, I always leave room for that. Always leave room for that. You have to consider it. I look at it and I watched it. If I'm just judging on the evidence, it still looks the same way to me.
I don't know why this makes me laugh. Okay.
You know why it makes me, you know what, Rachel? You know why it makes you laugh? Because you don't have a heart. Because like you don't have a heart. Like I don't want, look, fuck it. You guys, I don't want Jussie Smollett to have done this.
I don't either.
I think that Jussie Smollett was everything that they said about him in the fucking thing, I think he was a fierce fighter for Black people, for queer people. I think he was an incredible voice. I think he probably still is an incredible voice. Haven't seen as much from him. I don't want this to be true.
Okay.
I don't want it to be true.
I don't either.
It.
I've said this before. When it happened, I posted about it. I believed him.
I posted about it.
I was very much I did not want this to be true at all. I would have never watched this documentary if it wasn't for the purpose of this podcast. I watched it, and there were several I'm with you. I watched it, and
good doc.
It was a great documentary, not a long watch. Everybody should go out and watch it. I watched it, and I believed even more that he said this after I watched it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there were, oh my God, I sound like you. And let me tell you why. It's rubbing off on me. There were certain things in it that bothered me. One thing they didn't include, unless I missed it, and I really wish they had, and him calling himself the gay Tupac.
Nah, I don't think it was in there. I was waiting for it.
I was waiting for it too.
Yeah.
Now that takes a lot to say that. Also, what does that mean?
Well, so hold on. I'm going to get accused.
Me.
The landlord lovers are going to accuse me of trying to stick up for Jussie. But apparently, being called the gay Tupac is something that his family would call him.
Keep it in the family.
And so when he said, I am the gay Tupac, I think that he was referring to something that his family had called him.
And keep it there. It's because there was a whole thing too, and I don't mean to go back of it. It seemed that, because when they showed him performing, that he did a performance a few days after, I actually didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was about attention or anything like that, but I think it was there where he called himself the gay Tupac.
It was at the Troubadour, so if that was the
that was at the Troubadour.
Yeah,
so he was feeling himself at that point.
Yeah.
But him doing the concert didn't bother me at all. I think that's what a professional would do. If he was capable of singing, but then he comes to the gay Tupac. Like that's the kind of stuff that works against him. And I thought they purposely kept that out because there's just no way to look at that and it not look bad. What got me was there were two things, and I think both of these things can be true. The Chicago Police Department can be corrupt and have a lot of bad actors. Jussie could also be lying about not setting this up. I think both of those things can happen. And what I didn't like was the correlation that they kept when they would show how bad the Chicago Police Department has been in the past, particularly towards Black men. I didn't like them comparing it to Laquan McDonald. That, I'm not saying, God forgive me if this really did happen to Jussie, but Laquan McDonald getting shot 16 times and them trying to cover that up and hide that is not what happened to you. And I understand that you were trying to show that there are injustices within the department and corruption, and historically that has been the case, and Black people have been protesting that department and just the corruption in the city for forever. But you using that for you, I felt was a little self-righteous, and I did not like that at all.
I think what they were trying to show is the level that the police department and the city of Chicago will go to.
I get it. But to use that case, I did not like that. The other thing was, if there was anything to me that helped him, it was the brothers. These brothers came to put on a show. The Nigerian brothers came to put on the show. When one of the brothers walked in with the cowboy hat.
One of them had the hat on.
and paused for dramatic effect
can't
when
hate
he
on
was
the hat.
talking and took the hat off, looked dead into the camera,
Yeah.
paused before he had to say what he had to say. I said, oh, these brothers are, if they're not, they might not be acting about what they did, but they're acting right now as they're sitting here. These brothers love a camera. They love the attention. I forgot how they were doing all the rounds on conservative media.
Fox News and all
I
that.
forgot that, or I did not know that they were coming out with a book that they can't even remember the name of the
Didn't know
title
the name
to.
of the book, yeah.
The brothers were, to me, but they don't come across as smart. So to me, I don't see them being smart enough to work with the police officers and lie about it. I think they just say what it is.
Well, the documentary alleges that there were illegal weapons found in one of the brothers' homes, and that the police were able to use them to confess.
But of course they were working with the police officers, and I understood why they didn't get charged. Of course they were working with the police officers to go against Jussie Smollett, but I don't think they were working with him as far as they lied. And the other self-righteous thing, a part of it is, they talk about this thing of the police department needed to look like heroes because of the corruption and the impression and the perception that people have of them in Chicago and outside of it. Jussie Smollett's case was not the case to the hill to die on to prove that they were heroes. I'm just sorry. It wasn't. You in this case weren't big enough for that. Now, I'm not saying that the
Jussie Smollett case wasn't big enough?
It was big enough in the attention that it got, because
gigantic. The president was talking about
No. I'm not saying it wasn't. It didn't get attention and go on for weeks and weeks, especially because things kept changing. I'm just saying that incident alone, what happened to him, the alleged crime, was not big enough to deem them that it didn't happen the way it said it did, to now for everybody to change their perception of the Chicago Police Department, to think that they were heroes and now they're not going to be looked at as corrupt as they did.
I disagree.
They allude to
if they would have,
that's why.
If the Chicago Police Department would have found the perpetrators of this crime, and those perpetrators would not have been in any way connected to Jussie Smollett, I think people would have celebrated the Chicago Police Department.
Yes, they would have. But what Jussie's argument and his team are saying is that they planned this thing against him because they needed a win. They needed it to be. They needed to be looked at as heroes, and I just don't think that they would have chosen him as the one to do that with. That's why I think it's also self-righteous. I hope that he finds his peace and he is able to move on from this. But this, to me, did not help. Even at the end, there's this. So the way they connect, one of the ways they connect to these brothers is they followed their route, and then they lose them about a block away from where the alleged crime happened, to where they live. So they're following them from camera to camera to camera throughout Chicago. And there's this one clip that's in color. All the other camera shots are in videos or in white and black, so you can see them. So they have everybody.
Put white first.
They have everybody looking at this video. And part of their argument is that the police didn't follow up with witnesses. They didn't follow up on these videos. They weren't presenting the prosecution wasn't presenting the best case. But they show this video to everybody kind of involved with the case. And they're like, are these brothers, you can see them in color, is that a white man or a black man? Or they don't even ask, they just say, what do you see? Did that guy look black or white to you?
He looked black.
He looked like a light.
It was not even. He looked
black, and they kept trying.
One of the more damning parts of it is there is an eyewitness that saw one of the guys during the assault, and it's a gentleman that works at a hotel, the Sheraton Hotel, and he is one of the linchpins of Jussie's testimony that the guys that attacked him were white. They showed him the video of the two gentlemen that they say are white in color. And he goes, this is two African-American males.
All the black people said it was black, and all the nons were like white.
Yeah, like, these are two African-American males. And so that but look, a good documentary is supposed to cover both sides of an issue.
Right.
And raise doubt, but also exist in the reality of what happened. I don't think that there's very many people who are going to watch that documentary and come away with their mind changed. If you thought Jussie Smollett was innocent before the documentary, you're going to watch the documentary and go, this proves that he is innocent. If you thought that Jussie Smollett had done this and that he was guilty of concocting this entire thing, you are going to leave this documentary thinking that exact same thing. What I will say is this, man, I know niggas who have done worse and become great people and done what I know niggas who have done worse. So I don't think that all of this has happened. This is over. And I personally don't think that the industry, the people, the community should hold this against Jussie Smollett for the rest of his career. He is never, ever, 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 ever in any way, shape, or form are going to acquiesce or admit to the fact that he did this.
No, he can't now.
He can't. He's gone too far. That's not going to happen. If that's what you're looking for him, that's not going to happen. So the reality is now, the question is, can we get over it? And by the way, I'll just say this. I have joked about it.
Yeah.
I have joked about it. I joked about it on Instagram one time. Jussie got mad at me, right? I joked about it on Instagram one time. We also got to be able to joke about it. Like, this is now a cultural happening that is a part of Black historical record. And it's not a funny thing. It's not a funny thing. But when we look back on it, the absurdity of the situation, there's got to be some ability to talk about it and approach it in a way that's not the life and death situation that it was in 2019. He might never get to that point because there's such high leverage for him, right? He might never get to that point. Right? People were mad at me about the Meg hoodoo thing. I'm playing, y'all. I'm playing. It's jokes. Y'all, we joking. No one should be holding this against Jussie Smollett now, to me.
No.
No. Jussie Smollett, I hope that Jussie Smollett is able to continue with his career. I hope to see him able to even go further. And I hope that this documentary is a catalyst and a conduit to him being able to do that. But shut up, man. Shut up.
We didn't even talk about the news.
We didn't talk about the news. Okay. See what I'm saying? That's not funny. It is, but it's not. It is, but.
Would you still be wearing it?
No, I would not still be wearing the noose, man. I wouldn't still be wearing the noose. We gotta go. We gotta see, Rachel, see this? No, I wouldn't still, I wouldn't keep it around my neck. And it was one thing when the police was like, I'm from the South. All right, that's it. It's fucked up. Yo, like seriously, I'm being like. Wait, shut up, Rachel. Shut up.
Still intact.
No, the dude said the sandwich was pristine. Y'all, it's time to shut up. I swear, I'm being serious right now. That I really do think I'm being serious. That
it's a great documentary.
Culturally, I don't think we should hold this against Jussie Smollett for the rest of his career. Just move on. Jussie Smollett is a talented guy, and he is an asset culturally. Fucked up. He fucked. All right, that's it. It's over. No more podcasts. Actually, before we go, we gotta get to Nina Turner. Senator Nina Turner joins us right now to talk about why she thinks that the retaliatory partisan gerrymandering from the Democrats is not going to work and why it's bad strategy. She's gonna talk to us. We're gonna talk to her about a wide-ranging group of issues that go into the identity of the Democrats and where she sees herself in that identity on the other side of this break. Okay, we've covered it here. You guys have heard about it. There is a fight over gerrymandering in the United States political climate right now. And that affects you. It affects how you vote, the fairness of your districts, all of that stuff. Donald Trump called up Governor Abbott in Texas and asked him to find him 5 more seats, presumably to insulate himself from any type of consequences from his agenda in next year's midterm elections. In response to this, Democratic governors across the country have said that they will redistrict their states to make up for the power grab in Texas. Some people are saying this is fighting fire with fire, but there are some in the Democratic Party, there are some in the political sphere who don't think this is a good idea. One of them joins us today. This is a member of the Democratic Party, a self-described Democratic socialist, was a Cleveland City Council member from 2006-2008, member of the Ohio Senate from 2008 until 2014, served as a national co-chair of Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign. If I read off all of her accolades, we'd be here all day. Senator Nina Turner, I still call her Senator Nina Turner, joins us today on Higher Learning. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Good. Great to be with you both, man. I don't know where you getting that information, and I am not a self-described democratic socialist.
That's what it says right here. So that's what the guy put it in. That whoever put that in, it's not my fault, Nina. They put that in.
But I feel like I read that too. Can you say clear that up?
See, but that's why y'all shouldn't be going to Wikipedia. Should ask my team for my bio. Anybody can write Wikipedia stuff.
So that is a misconception about you. You are not a self-described democratic socialist. Let's get it right now.
I'm not a democratic socialist. Hell, I'm barely a Democrat.
There we go.
What I am, though, is a hell-raising humanitarian. I believe in humanity, and I believe that because this is a hegemonic nation, that the wealth of this nation should be used to uplift the working class people from all backgrounds in these United States of America. So, I might have to go Shakespeare. What's in the name? A rose by any other name smells just as sweet. But please, please, for the love of God, I'm asking your listeners, your viewers, do not judge me by that Wikipedia page. I don't know who put that together. Anybody can put together Wikipedia pages. So I want people to understand.
Fair enough. And we'll leave that in so that everyone that's listening can note the correction and you have the opportunity to define yourself rather than be defined by your Wikipedia page. And we apologize to you, Nina.
Not somebody's Wikipedia page about me.
Right. Okay. You do not think the retaliatory redistricting is a good strategy or a good idea for the Democrats, Kathy Hochul or Gavin Newsom, to endeavor into. Why do you think that?
No, not at all. Because partisan gerrymandering is never good. And so what these folks don't understand is that ultimately, politicians should never be able to pick their constituents. It's called voting. It should always be the other way around. And when you are playing a dangerous game like this, and I'm not talking about gerrymandering in general, I'm talking about partisan gerrymandering. Ultimately, the Black community is going to bear the brunt of it at some point. So all of these people who think they're fighting fire with fire, I kind of lean to Chairman Fred Hampton when he said, we do not fight fire with fire, we fight fire with water, just in case people don't know who that is, a chairman from Chicago of the Black Panthers. Now, he didn't say that particularly for redistricting, but I'm using that in the context. I actually voted on maps after the 2010 census. So that's another point that I want our viewers, our listeners to understand is that redrawing lines should happen every 10 years. It shouldn't happen every 5 years. We mid-year right now. And you have a president who understands how to wield power and called up folks all out in the open and told Texas, I need me some more seats because 2026 is coming. If these Democratic governors understood, see, they're not willing to go as far, to be as rogue as President Donald J. Trump. And another point, even if they do these things, it's a losing battle because they're never going to get enough seats to outseat the Republicans in the United States of America in this climate with these lines. So not only are you doing something that could upend let me talk about the Voting Rights Act too, that could upend the Voting Rights Act, have a detrimental impact on all voters, but especially detrimental impact on Black voters. You got Democrats not even taking that into consideration. They fighting a losing battle.
Something that you said when you were talking about that, in California, it's going to be on the ballot. So the California citizens get the opportunity to decide if this is something that they want. Does that not make it different for you that it's not where what's happened in Ohio, where they just unilaterally put up their redistricting map? In California, the citizens get to decide if they want this or not. Does that not change that for you?
No, because they're being deceived. They're going to amass a whole campaign to try to convince voters that this is the right thing to do. Yeah, being one step removed from the actual governor or the legislature making the decision, I guess that's a little better. But I mean, if we jumping in the hole, if you're going halfway down, all the way down, it's of no consequence when it comes to the result of this. So I definitely hear your point. The voters will decide, but the voters are going to be manipulated. They're going to see a whole lot of ads, and nobody's going to sit them down and have the conversation that we're having right now. That while it may seem as though the Democrats are meeting brute force with brute force, and I get it, though. You know what I mean? Like, I totally understand why that would be the initial reaction. And people want to see the Democrats fight back. They got, a 26% approval rating. They lost for the first time the popular vote in 20 years. So they lost the electoral college. They lost the popular vote. They, in desperation, are trying to hold on to something and make it seem like they're fighting. When they were in control, they could have gotten rid of the filibuster. When they were in control, they could have increased the federal minimum wage. When they were in control, we could have had Medicare for all or some type of system in this country whereby healthcare was provided in a different way. And then maybe President Donald J. Trump wouldn't be on his second tour of duty. They did none of that. Now you want to pretend like you're doing something when most of the states are controlled by Republicans. So they never going to be able to out-partisan gerrymander the Republicans.
Well, they're in the situation now, though. Like, I think we could all agree about the Democrats' inaction and things they haven't done before. They're in the situation now. So being that President Trump is brazenly calling for adding seats to the Republican majority in the House via gerrymandering, if not retaliatory gerrymandering, what's the solution that Senator Turner sees?
Partisan. We got to put partisan in front of it.
Understandable.
Front of the lines is a natural. I need folks to understand this happens every 10 years after the census. But what is happening is that there is going to be a guarantee of X number of seats that Republicans will always win and X number of seats that Democrats will always win. And so voters are going to be left out of the cold for decades. So the answer is one, well, first of all, they shouldn't have never lost in the first place. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you're right that we are.
Yeah, we're here now. Right.
Number 2 is we have got to take this into the streets and do ultimate organizing and preparation on the state level and also on the federal level of government to regain power in that way. We got a plan 26, 27, 28. We got to be doing that right now. Partisan gerrymandering is not going to help the situation because I want you guys to hear me clearly. They are not going to win this and they're not going to make it less bad. They're going to make it worse. And the Voting Rights Act, I ultimately care about that. The Voting Rights Act, because they're going to set up precedents. And I've talked to civil rights attorneys. What's going to happen is that these Democrats are going to set up precedents and it's going to happen through the courts and voters are going to lose. And we know that when that happens, the people who bear the brunt of that loss will be, once again, per usual, Black people. So they're not really doing anything.
Right. So let's go back to the specific prescription, though, because I think what people are talking about is, all right, so when I say retaliatory redistricting or gerrymandering, it's of course it's partisan, right? So it's retaliatory, so it's partisan. So I think what a lot of voters are, people that I talk to, what the answer to the question that they want, and they want it put honestly, very simply, is if President Trump is brazen enough and direct enough to call up a governor of a state and say, hey, like he tried to do in Georgia, find me this many ballots. He's saying, find me this many seats. And then retaliatory partisan gerrymandering isn't the answer for all the reasons that you say. And I think these are reasons that people are raising, and I think that they are good reasons. What is exactly the thing that should happen? And it really can't be an amorphous answer. It can't be a philosophical answer. What then do you do? Because they are going to do what they are going to do, which is whatever he says. So then in response to that, what should we do, the people who do not want to see the power grab by the right?
We got to organize. That ship has sailed. That's what I'm trying to get people. They want to feel good. See, to have Governor Holcomb or Governor Pritzker and Governor Newsom say that I see your partisan or retaliatory gerrymandering and I raise you. If people want to feel good superficially in the moment, then have at it. But if people care about 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 moves down the line, they would not be in support of this. So do I have a genie in a bottle that I can rub and say, this is going to go away? No, there are going to be some pain points. But ultimately, we need to organize. That is concrete. We need to organize all over this country in preparation. We need a general strike in the United States of America to let these folks know that when working class people refuse to make a move, the country will be shut down. We need to elect Democrats who have a spine, because again, I know you saying that was then, this is now. The reason why we are here is because Democrats lacked the intestinal fortitude or the ovarian audacity to do what was necessary to prevent Mr. Donald J. Trump to have a second term. Now he has a term and he is letting them know how to use raw power. But simply saying, I see your gerrymander and I raise you is not going to change this immutable fact. Is that Republicans are in control of more states in the United States of America. So it doesn't matter what Newsom does or Holcomb or Pritzker hiding out the Texas state legislature people who then went back to Texas. Don't even get me started on that. Because if you're going to roll like that, you got to stay out the state. But I digress. There is nothing in terms of partisan gerrymandering that the Democrats have leverage to do that is going to change the circumstance. So we need a new play.
I agree with you. There's so many things that you just said there. With the Texas Democrats, is like they were going to have to go back and it was always going to be what it was because we've seen them leave the state before. But I think, because I so agree with everything you're saying. I think why someone like me likes what's happening, what Gavin Newsom is doing, is because for so long, and we do it on this podcast, we sit and we talk about the traditional establishment when it comes to the Democrats and how they like to say, well, at least we're not like them. They like to do better. And for so long, we've been like, well, do more, do something. It is in essence a fight fire with fire. But going back to what you were saying, if we need to strike, what does that look like? Because you posted something on your Instagram, which I found very interesting, where you talked about how, and we'll put this up for our listeners and viewers to see. I don't want to read the whole thing, but you talk about how don't wait on Black Americans to get in the street. And then you go on to say, white liberals, it's time for you all to protest, actually protest, organize, be in the streets every day. I'm wondering, is that part of the strike of what you're talking about? Because then I wonder, well, how can we depend on white liberals to be proactive when the redistricting doesn't necessarily direct or attack them as it does as Black or brown people? How can we expect them to be out in the streets and be passionate on our behalf when we know, I guess, within us, people really don't act unless something directly impacts them?
No, true that. That is human nature. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and also Minister Malcolm X told us about the white liberal. They both did in their own way. That the white liberal is the worst. And I'm paraphrasing them on this. They're not necessarily going to do anything on our behalf, but they are out there talking about how much they care about democracy. So they need to get in the streets for the sake of democracy, not for Black people. Bayard Rustin once said that this country never has and never will do anything solely for the Negro. And he was making reference to the freedom budget, which I hope I can come on and talk to you both about at another time. But you got to have a vision, and part of it has to be organizing and playing the long game. And I understand where you're coming from. Democrats haven't done anything, so do something. But there's something that they're going to waste millions of dollars on. This something is not going to get us anywhere. It's kind of like going around the block over and over again and expecting to be on a different street. That is what this partisan gerrymandering is going to do. And again, the brunt of this, I care about all voters. So I want to be very clear. When I voted on a map in 2011 in the great state of Ohio, I voted against the map to the chagrin of my Democratic colleagues. And the reason why I voted against the map, because it guaranteed X number of seats for Republicans, meaning they weren't competitive, and X number of seats for Democrats, they weren't competitive. But the reason why Democrats were happy, because they were happy with the X number of seats, because the people in those seats said, hey, we ain't got to worry. We're going to have this seat for life. In the same way that the Republicans, I go with democracy and I rock with the voters deserve to be able to have a choice. And the more partisan lines we draw, the less likely it is for either side to have to do anything to change the trajectory of this country, because they're stuck and all they care about is their next original seat. So to quote one of my dear friends, Van, a dear friend of yours too, Michael Render, aka Killer Mike, we got to organize, we got to strategize, we got to plot, plan, organize, strategize, and mobilize. There is no easy answer to this. Yeah. And that is what people are looking for. They're looking for an easy answer. There is none. And Gavin Newsom is not the savior. This man was sitting up there in California knocking down the tents of unhoused people.
Yeah.
He ain't nobody.
Right. So look, you know what? The interesting thing here is we have a big tent and a big cold. I actually don't agree.
With what?
With the fact that they shouldn't retaliatory gerrymander. I actually don't agree. So there's two things.
You don't care that it's going to impact the Voting Rights Act? You don't care?
I do care.
I think that's inevitable anyway.
I do care that it's going to impact the Voting Rights Act. This is what I would say. Number one, before I get into what I think, a couple of things. I think just by the seats, by the math, if they were able to max out what they were able to do on both sides with the grabbing of seats, you'd probably see like a wash. It'd be neutrality in terms of that. Like, and the math says that. Just talking about the math, it'd be a wash in the seats that the Democrats were able to, and you'd get back to where the voters could make decisions based upon President Trump's agenda. Secondly, the general strike is precarious to me as an idea right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, you mentioned earlier that the Democrats have a 26% approval rating. So it doesn't seem likely to me that the organizing and the party's strength is there to actually affect a general strike. It doesn't seem like that's a possibility. And then secondly, Senator Turner, just to be real with you, we haven't really had a successful general strike in America since 1946. So it's been a long time since it's actually even been done with any. We've had strikes that have been very successful. We've had things that smaller, but as far as a general strike in this type of contentious political climate, what do you say to people that say that's not a viable strategy to deal with this particular problem?
But they think it's viable to keep on this course. I'm not talking about the Democrats leading the general strike. I'm talking about working class people. I'm talking about labor unions. You got people like President Sean Fain of the UAW, who's been talking about a general strike for the last 2 years. You have leaders like Stacey Davis Gates of the Chicago Teachers Union, Sarah Nelson, all kinds of labor leaders across this country who would be the foundation point for leading a general strike. Now, most workers are not in labor unions, and that's why I'm talking about the working class, not just organized labor, but working class people. And just because it didn't work in the 40s doesn't mean that it's not going to work right now. Democrats don't have the numbers. So that Democrats literally don't have the numbers, and I'm simply stating the facts. Now, I wish y'all could pull up a map. One of my tweets that I put out 3 days ago, I lay out the map. They do not have the numbers. It would not be a wash. And all it would do is make the system worse than what it is. Now, again, I want you both to know I am not naive to that, to the visceral human fight fire with fire. I get it. But if we all gonna get burned, we all gonna get singed on this, and it's not going to be pretty ultimately. Now, I might feel a little differently. I might concede if the Democrats could win, even though I would still be pained by it because I am about democracy itself in good times and in bad times. But especially since they can't win it, and you putting all this effort and getting people all amped up when we could be doing something differently. And I am not talking on behalf of the Democrats. I'm talking on the behalf of the people in this country who have been failed by both parties, who deserve a whole lot better than what they get. Y'all know what I really want to do? I'm calling on the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer. When she and some of her colleagues in Mississippi said, "The hell with the Democratic Party. They treating Black people like second-class citizens. The Republican Party ain't the party that it once was." And her and her contemporaries started the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. That's pretty much where we are right now, because both of these parties are failing, folks, and you see it in this. Yes, the brazenness of President Donald J. Trump, he wrong all day long and twice on Sundays. He is using raw power, and Democrats are ill-equipped. They don't know how to use raw power because, again, if they did, we wouldn't be in this situation.
So real quick, I'll say this real quick, and I'm going to throw this out to you and you tell me if you disagree with this or agree with this. Absolute max gains with no commissions and no court limits. You look at Democrats, if they could beat the commissions and the court limits, and we should say that a lot of the places where there are independent commissions that are set up to watch gerrymandering are in places that are traditionally held by their traditional liberal strongholds, right? But the absolute max gains would be plus 20 or 25 seats by Democrats. Absolute max gains. Republicans would be plus 15 to plus 20. They probably go further in Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and erase some minority districts in the Deep South. But that would be the max here that some people are conjecturing that they could get. If both max out simultaneously, the House would stay close to being evenly split, which would then give people in competitive districts right now the opportunity to vote on the candidates that they have seen go along with Trump's agenda, and then maybe generate gains for the Democrats in or whatever. They would be able to vote the House and vote a majority for the Democrats or not for the Democrats evenly and fairly. You're saying that you don't think that this data is correct. You don't think that the Democrats can that they can get this back to a neutral situation where they can then send it to the voters and have them make a decision on their future next year. You don't think that math is right?
It's not going to happen that way. We all know that. That's in a perfect world. What you just laid out is everything goes 100% right. And that is not going to happen because Trump is going to overpower these folks. The Democrat, I'm going to ask you both this. What heart have you seen the Democratic Party writ large have? They don't have a heart for this. They're dealing with
so this is a little bit. So this is what I would say. Look, I left the Democratic Party some years ago. And the reason why I left it is because I don't believe in structure in terms of politics anymore. I just don't believe in it anymore. I believe in the average person. That's what I believe in. I believe in the person. So if you're listening to me right now, I don't believe in them. I believe in you. That's what the deal is. However, in this situation, I'm a little bit confused and when I say confused, I mean it, at what the right way to go about this is because there's a math part of this, and then there's a philosophical part of this. The math part of this says, hey, if in fact they are going to do something and there's no way to stop them, we can't guilt them out of the power grab, right? There's no way to stop them. Donald Trump says, I want more power. He calls up Abbott. Abbott says, I'm going to give it to you. So the only thing you can do to keep things fair is where you have power to actually use it. And if you don't, hoping that there's a groundswell which I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I wouldn't know how to do that. You wouldn't know how to do that. If you're hoping that they're going to stop beating you up or that the people are going to get involved, the people who, if you think that the people have been manipulated into or they will be manipulated into voting for the gerrymandering in spots where they can gerrymander, well, then they've certainly already been manipulated by voting for Donald Trump, who does not care about working people at all. So then I guess for me, I'm struggling with, in this situation, what is showing fight? Because we say that we want politicians on the left, be they Democrats, be they Democratic Socialists, be they whatever, to fight. And then when they do show some fight in using the power that they have, they're showing the wrong kind of fight. So I really don't know. I'm trying to understand what the best way to go about this is. Because it seems like the easiest thing to do is say, and excuse my language, if you fuck me in Texas, I'll fuck you in California. And if you fuck me in Ohio, I'll fuck you in New York. And then we just let the chips fall where they may. You never know how a fight's going to end. It's nothing but blood and teeth after that.
And I mean, you just really made my point. Ultimately, the Voting Rights Act is in jeopardy. And ultimately, all this democracy that Democrats was beating Donald Trump up against the head is in peril. You fighting, but you lead me into a battle that we are ultimately going to lose. That, to me, that's not. I want them to fight differently. I'm not saying don't fight, but this is not the one. They need a different strategy on how to get there. And in terms of California has to put it on the ballot. These other states don't. Legislators vote on maps in most states, unless it's a state that you just gave an states where they have commissions. But we vote. State level folks vote on the maps. And most of these states, they're already as partisan as they can get anyway. So you're going to get the same result. Wouldn't it be better to expend that energy and that capital on creating a longer term plan that gets us to 2028 and beyond instead of putting on a show? These Democrats are playing in our face. And I mean the face of all these voters and ultimately the people who are going to get hurt. All voters, but especially Black voters, are always sacrificed on the altar when it comes to things like this. Now, this man raised $6 million. This ain't nothing but a glorified fundraising campaign for Governor Gavin Newsom. So even if people agree with this stuff, at least they got to understand, they got to recognize the game and recognize when they being played by either side. I respect the fact that you are not in either one of these parties because both of these parties are failing the American people. I'm in the party, but not of it, and doing some thinking myself. Y'all are hearing this for the first time. I don't feel affiliated with this party at all. Yes, I ran as and Senator Nina Turner as a Democrat, but this party has totally failed to change the material conditions of the American working class people. And that is why we are in the situation we are in. And I resent it. And the same leaders who got us there, Representative Hakeem Jeffries or Senator Chuck Schumer and company, all of them, they are not going to be the leaders that are going to get us out of this mess. They lost the popular vote for the first time in 20 years. They need to step aside and let some other folks lead who have a vision to provide provision. I am disgusted. I want you both to notice the level of suffering that people are going to have to go through. There will be a lot of collateral damage. This partisan gerrymandering is only one part of it. And they were so arrogant to think they were going to win again. Had they not been so arrogant and really got down deep with the people, we would not be in this situation. So I can't move forward without laying out this picture. So for those of your audience who want to see the Democrats fight back in this way, I get it. I ain't casting no judgment. I understand. You think they fighting fire with fire. For other folks who are willing to play chess and not checkers and think a little bit longer down the road and understand the consequences and repercussions that could happen once you get into, I see your gerrymander, I raised you a partisan gerrymander, and the fact that we should not be changing lines mid-year.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry, not mid-year, but mid.
Yeah.
Mid-decade.
I think that we know that perception is reality. So I think both of the things, I agree with you about doing things differently, but because perception is reality, I think the perception of seeing a Gavin Newsom fight in this way will be powerful as far as voters when they come to the midterms and 2028 in regards to saying, okay, I'm seeing something that's different. So I think that speaks volumes, but I agree with you. There has to be a plan to do something differently. And in order to organize, you got to have a leader. And I'll want to follow up about, maybe some of the things we saw in 2024. But when you're looking forward and you're playing chess, who is it that you have your eye on or you're watching and you're like, they could be a leader as we move into this 2028 election?
Well, as I travel the country, and I was just recently in South Carolina. I was just with UAW workers, Region 9, shouting them out in upstate New York. And I'm going all over the country right now. It's not just one leader right now. People are not looking for one leader. What I say to people in the audiences that I speak to is that you are that one. Because it's not going to be one politician that's going to swoop in and save any of us. That has never happened in this country. The appearance of that, but it's never been just a one. This is going to take the bubbling up of the grassroots. This is going to take bringing old school and new school together. What were those tenets of the civil rights movement that worked? Because we've forgotten about that. The Voting Rights, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act did not come because some benevolent politician said it's time to make sure that Black people are not treated like second-class citizens through law. It came because people got in the streets. When Fannie Lou Hamer challenged President Lyndon Baines Johnson, the man called a press conference. Here we have a civil rights leader who was a sharecropper, who gave a testimony about how bigoted the Democratic Party was. President Lyndon Baines Johnson was so shook by her, he called a fake press conference to try to stop her, and it didn't stop her. Matter of fact, it made her message spread wider. What's your lesson here, Senator Turner? The lesson is that if we want real deep-seated change that could last generations, it's going to bubble up from ordinary people putting a little extra on their ordinary so that extraordinary things can happen. These are extraordinary times, and we need extraordinary people rising up from faith-based, from activists in the streets to people in suites, just people, everyday people, to say that we sick and tired of being sick and tired and we're not going to take this anymore. So it won't be the same kind of formula that we think. It's not going to be some elected official that's going to come save us. We are going to have to come save us. And that's why people like me and my organization, We Are Somebody, is out there on the ground. I know you both know that myself, Tamika Mallory from Until Freedom, who's the first person that I called to launch a national boycott against Target, which is still going strong. Ain't no currently elected official did that. We did that. And along with Pastor Jamal Bryant, in Atlanta, one of the most successful, when I say successful, but people galvanized behind us. It would not, or with us, it wouldn't be successful without the people who say, you know what, you guess what, we ain't going to Target. I don't know when I'm going back to Target. I may never go back to Target. 3 of us did that. We started this national, and it's still going strong. So I'm using that as an example that we don't need somebody to come in from high. We just need everyday people who say that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, they're not going to take it anymore.
But still leaders. The 3 of you are leading this. You know what I mean? Like there's always a face or faces of it. And that's why I'm like, who do you think could be that person? Because
I'm not naming any of them people out there.
So as it relates to what it is that we're talking about, I'll say this about that is, and so Target, which has cultivated an audience or a consumer base with Black people for a very long time and reached out to them in different ways, does something that is at cross purposes to what a specific consumer base feels like they deserve, which is they roll back their DEI, they take projects out. They take projects that they're doing and they get rid of them. The accelerator programs and all of that stuff for Black and brown people. And Black people would just go, no. We go, no. We are galvanized by people like yourself, by Tamika, who is a fantastic, amazing, and insanely brave person. For Tamika and my son to hit the street wherever something is going on, like not to talk on Twitter or on Instagram like I do, to actually go there and put their feet on the ground. I don't think we talk enough about that. And Pastor Bryant, Black people say no. We say we're not going to shop at a place that doesn't want us. I will say though, some of these other issues are they're not as sticky as that. Like even the issue of democracy, it's not as sticky as that. Like it's a little bit more precarious to get people out on the streets in the name of democracy. And I'll tell you why. Is they've already voted. A lot of them, they voted, and what's happening right now is Trump won the popular vote. America voted for this. This is what they voted for. They voted for it. They already had their say. They voted. What a political organization like the Democrats, and it is a political organization, what they are trying to do, or what, if you read it in the best good faith way that you could, what they are trying to do is lessen the amount of abuse that the process takes by people who are brazenly abusing their power. And when we talk about the power of the average person, and we talk about the strength of the average person and the worker, I am there. UAW, Sean Fain, those guys, they endorsed President Harris, right? Vice President Harris. I'm thinking about something. They endorsed Vice President Harris. I bet Vice President Harris wasn't their dream candidate, right? But they endorsed her. They came out, they gave her a full-throated endorsement because I think that organizations like that and other organizations saw that there is or was, even if the difference is 5%, even if it's 10%, a difference between Vice President Harris and Donald Trump. I do not think that this type of mid-decade redistricting would be happening if she were president. I don't think that would be happening, right? So there is some difference between them. I say all that to say this. The question is not one to me that requires language that where we rededicate ourselves to our belief in people. We believe in people. The question is very simple. What do you do? They're going to take seats and make sure that you cannot vote them out next year. They're going to take seats and make sure you can't do that. They're going to send the Gestapo into American communities and kidnap people. They're going to ship people to other countries with no due process. They're going to do whatever they want. They're going to send the military into Chicago and New York and DC. They're going to do all of these things, and then they're going to make sure that you can't vote them out after you get mad about them doing it. What are you going to do? And
why is this happening? I mean, why is this happening? Why are we in this position?
Well, okay, so to me, there are myriad reasons. One reason is we did not have a candidate. When I say we, I mean the left. I mean people who are anti-authoritarianism did not have a candidate that could particularly galvanize all and get solidarity through the entire base. And if I'm being honest with you, Senator Turner, and I admire you a great deal, there are probably people listening to this right now that are saying, well, if Senator Turner and people like her would have more strongly and full-throatedly supported Kamala Harris, I knew you were going to laugh when I said that, then maybe there's a chance we wouldn't be in this position right now. What would you say to those people?
You have a vice president who raised over $1 billion, who had every big name, most big names, like 99.9% of them under the sun, outraised Mr. Trump and still couldn't beat him. They need to look in the mirror. Don't place the blame on people who vote. See, people don't owe votes to anybody. Nobody owed me their vote.
Right.
It was my job to earn the vote. Now you had people out there with Gaza saying you got to call this thing what it is. It's a genocide, or it's a deliberate killing of generations of folks. If you don't want to call it a genocide, we had them folks in Michigan and other parts of the country. We had the colleges, younger people all over the country camping out and letting folks know, not in our name, not with our money. And they totally ignored that. So why is the onus being put on voters and other people like me to drag somebody across the line who raised over $1 billion and had 99.9% of the big names and still could not beat a president that has been how many felonies?
Infinite. What's a little infinite sign? It's infinite felonies.
Which,
right.
By the way, I think the Democrats were wrong. I mean, let's talk about him specifically, but we know how reform in the legal system has always been a big deal for Black people. So I'm not going to just label the man that. I mean, he is that, but I don't want Black folks to be dented by that. If people are supposed to get a second chance, they're supposed to get a second chance. The bottom line is this: the Democrats failed and they have nobody else to blame but themselves. Why are we putting the blames on voters? Most voters didn't show up because they say show up for what? Nothing is working. When Biden was in office, Bidenomics, people were suffering. You guys remember that. I'm sure you talked to those people.
Absolutely.
I can't afford my groceries. What did Democrats say? But Bidenomics, everything is working. When somebody tell you they're suffering, you gotta sit down and listen to them. You can't tell them that. You can't say, well, we got the best economy compared to anybody else in the world. Well, big mamas and big papas, they ain't talking about the economy in some other country. They talking about the economy in their own household. So Democrats turned their backs on working class people, this is the reason why they're in the situation. It always boggles me. I mean, every time I ran, I felt like I had to earn the vote. I can't sit and tell the person that didn't vote why you didn't vote. I mean, there's reasons why people don't vote, but I'm not blaming. I think that is a lazy way out when people blame voters for the fact that a candidate did not win. And then you got Senator, former Secretary Hillary Clinton saying that if Trump can, broker peace between Russia and Ukraine, that she would support the man getting the Nobel Peace Prize. So which is it? You see y'all playing.
You're right. So you're right.
Because if the man is hit, all these things, which I never called him that. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. I understand it. Let me be crystal clear in what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I personally believe that Trump and the right are able to get cultural issues to be more important than the issues of the average American, right?
Absolutely.
And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were talking about everything that Donald Trump promised people, and people believe these promises. Donald Trump said, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine in the first week. Donald Trump said, I'm going to lower grocery prices. I'm going to do all of this stuff. And it was incumbent upon the people that he was talking to when he was in interviews to say, how? How?
That's right.
The war in Ukraine. There are three things that the Ukrainians want. They want security guarantees, they want their land back, and maybe they want NATO membership. Those things are diametrically opposed to the things that the Russians want. The Russians want no security guarantees. The Russians want Ukraine never to be in NATO, and they want to keep the territory that they've already taken. So when you're talking to somebody and the president tells you he's going to do that, you have to look at the president and say, well, how? What are you going to do? It's really not about issues like that. What it's about is the fact that the economic strife that you're going through, that's the fault of undocumented people, that the fact that you don't enjoy America anymore is the fact that it's DI, it's CRT. It's all of these things that are really making your life harder, and that has to do with the people that you don't want to share your community with. And he's able to whip people up and do that. He won on those things. A lot of those things. He won on those things. He won. He was able to create the America he wanted and won. The question is now, and we could talk about the Democrats all we want, but while we're talking about the Democrats and their failure and their folly, we have been critical of Hakeem Jeffries. We've been critical of Cory Booker. We've been critical of Schumer. We've been critical of all of the do-nothing Democrats that are there. And while we're doing it, one political wing of the country is taking a sledgehammer to the country. And we have got to stop them. Mm-hmm. And I understand that we might not have the right people. Maybe it's you, it's Mom Donnie, maybe it's Tallarico, maybe in order to do that, we have to get the old brass of the Democrats out, and I'm willing to help you sweep them out the door. I am willing to help you sweep them out the door. However, there are things that are happening right now, and we have to stop those things from happening. And I'm not just talking about like the big glossy political situations or issues. I'm talking about the DOJ getting out of litigation in Alabama that was trying to fix the water supply of Black people in Alabama. They're drinking wastewater. I'm talking about environmental justice. I'm talking about things that are material to people's lives that the Democrats actually had done, if I'm going to shoot them some bail, right? That Trump is undoing. I'm talking about a lot of things that, with even all of the inert action that you might say legacy corporate Democrats are capable of, right? There are still things where they serve a community that the Republicans, the MAG wing of the Republicans, undid right away. The Justice 40 Initiative, environmental justice, don't need that. It's a woke overreach. All of these things right away. They undo them right away, and then they do more. So I'm going to grant to everyone everywhere that the Democrats are a failed, broken party. I'm going to grant that. Right now, some guy sitting in some place is trying to strip away every basic right that the 14th Amendment, that the 5th Amendment, that all of these amendments guarantee you. What do we do to stop him right now, other than playing the blame game about elections that we cannot get back?
They knew. They said that this man was a threat, but they didn't comport themselves like he was. And now all of the things that you enumerated and many more that the three of us could enumerate is happening. We cannot disconnect from that. I understand what you're saying about how do we move forward, but you cannot move forward without understanding how we got here. We can't just brush that under the rug. They are the reason why so many people are catching hell right now, and why people who are in the humanitarian lane should be outraged by this. You know, we barely say anything about the Congo. You know, so Gaza is the canary in the coal mine, but it's the same energy. The same people who don't care about babies and mothers and fathers over in the Congo Congo or the Gaza don't care about the mamas and the daddies and the babies over here. One of every two children in my city of Cleveland live in poverty. The Democrats passed the child enhanced tax credit and then didn't make it permanent. So the same babies that got lifted out of poverty got pushed right back down. We can't talk about moving forward till we understand how we got here. So the answers that I am giving may not please the vast majority of the people who are listening, because there is no quick fix. but one must never build their shield on the battlefield. That's an African proverb. How do we plan for right now and moving into the future? And those two things go together. And all Sister Senator Turner is saying is that just saying, I see your partisan gerrymander and I raise you is not going to get us where we need to be.
Fair enough.
And all of those issues that both of you have laid out. It's empty. It may make you feel good. It's like getting high. Not that I know personally.
I was about to say, Senator Turner, what you talking about? Like, they go. I was about to say now.
And
I know you be helping. I know you be hanging out with Mike. So I was about to say, Senator Turner.
But also what I heard is that at a certain point, and depending on what drug it is, you start to chase the high.
Yeah.
That is what is happening right now. People are chasing the high, and they're so hungry for the do-nothing Democrats to do something that they'll take this knowing that it is an illusion. It is, look at the man or the woman behind the curtain. They are doing absolutely nothing but playing in our face, and the harm that is going to be done for this temporary gain, the harm is worse than the temporary gain.
Last question. I'm so sorry. Last question for me. Sorry, my microphone keeps falling down. I know we can't see into the future, but history has predictive value. So let's just say, and I agree with you about the do-nothing Democrats and wanting to do something. And let's say the voices get louder and the people are demanding, fighting against the current administration and fighting for what they want and are demanding a leader in place or an elected official for this 2028 election to represent them and not the party. But let's say it takes time. As you said, it's not something that's not going to change quickly. And we're back here for the next election with the same two parties and a do-nothing Democrat that is in place to be is put up by the establishment, because I saw something where you were talking about how the pendulum keeps swinging and it's just, and the Democrats keep pushing people off the ballot who don't fit into the person that they want to lift up for the establishment, like I keep saying. So let's just say we're back there again. I kind of want to ask it about Kamala Harris because she kind of left the door open, and I don't know. But I'll just say Kamala Harris or anybody from that group. Do you think, would you still encourage voters? I'm trying to figure out how to frame the question as I propped it up. What if we're back in that place? Do we not vote? Do we let a J.D. Vance or whoever they put up continue on or do more damage that they're already doing in this country? Or do we get behind and then demand and make our voices loud once we get that leader in? Because it could be a Kamala Harris, and she's left that door open. I don't know if she's done enough to disassociate herself from the Biden administration, but it could be one of the other do-nothing Democrats that we've named. What do we do then?
Most likely will. I mean, it's going to be up to the people to make a decision. Ultimately, I mean, and voting you in, and then I need to get some promises from you before you get in, because I once I get you in, then I'm making a demand. Oh no, I need my demands met, or at least a promise to meet my demands before I get you in. Because after you get in, you're not going to do anything in the first place. The American people have got to say that they're tired of going back and forth between both of these parties. They have to summon the courage. I mean, when I named Fannie Hamer, I mean that sincerely. I mean, they got so fed up, and these are poor, very poor, extraordinarily poor sharecroppers and black and white folks in Mississippi who got together to start that party and challenge President Lyndon Baines Johnson. We got more technology. We can connect with people all over the world in a matter of seconds. And you mean to tell me we can't use that template to make something shake and rock? We gonna make excuses for accepting the same do-nothing folks? Had the Democrats increased the federal minimum wage that's been $7.25 when President Biden and Vice President Harris had control of both chambers, we might not have been here. You're right, it's hard to predict the future. I'm just throwing it out. We might not have been here. Had they passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, we might not have been here. Had they done more to shore up the ability of workers to be able to organize on their jobs, we might not be here. Now, I will give the Biden administration credit for the National Labor Relations Board because they did that thing, even though President Trump came in there and dismantled that. But there were some things, had they done away with the filibuster, we might not be here. Had they added more Supreme Court justices to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, which that number is not immutable. It has been higher and it has been lower in history. Then we just might not be here. So what I say to the American people is to stop letting these politicians play in our face, even though you might like some of us, liking us and making sure that we change conditions are two different things. What did Brother Frederick Douglass say? Power concedes nothing without a demand. We got to start making some demands. We got to take some old school and some new school, mix that thing all up together and do a new thing. Or otherwise, as you just laid out, we will be faced with the same play in our face Democrats who are not going to do much. They are neoliberals. They believe in the system as it is. Yeah. It's just they going to be slicker than Donald J. Trump. See, the one thing about President Donald J. Trump, he liked the wolf. He going to do it in your face. I think it was Minister Malcolm X who said the difference between the North and the South is the difference between the fox and the wolf. We can take that analogy and overlay it to the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans because they answer to the same power brokers. They got the same people yanking their chains. They answer to owner donors.
I'm going to say one last thing. And I'm going to give you the last word. You've been so generous with your time. And I think people are just...
But we got to do this again.
We got to do this again. We got to do this again. You got to come out. You got to come out here and talk to us a little bit more. We made your acquaintance a couple of weeks ago, and we've been locked in. So I'll say this: a couple of things. We've criticized the Democrats. The Democrats haven't acted the way that we wanted to act. But even you bring up the child tax credit. You bring up other things. We could talk about serious things that happened. You just mentioned some of the labor stuff under the Biden administration that the right just is not going to care about. They're not going to care about environmental justice for Black children. They're not going to care about that type of stuff. As a matter of fact, not only are they not going to care about it, they are going to use it as a sacrificial lamb in order to feed red meat to their base. So when you cancel environmental justice for Black children or for Black neighborhoods, that's a stat. That's like a dunk or a three-pointer. Your base likes that. They like when you change the face of education. They like when you call duly elected mayors in Baltimore and in Birmingham or duly elected governors. They like when you call them DEI hires and whatever. They like that. That's what they like. So the things that actually subjugate you, they enjoy them. They're a cultural war victory for them. And that just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist on the other side. That we have to be honest about that. It just doesn't exist on the other side. It's not the same way. So it just doesn't exist, right? So so we just have to be real about that. And then secondly, almost everything else that you said, the filibuster, the Supreme Court, all of those things come with a similar fight to the gerrymandering in that it's something that you do and you don't know how far the other side is going to take it. And the Democrats in the past have been unwilling to have those fights. They've been unwilling to say, we're going to put 12 on the Supreme Court. They have been unwilling to say, we're going to put 15 on the Supreme Court. They've been unwilling to say, we're going to get rid of the filibuster. We're going to go to the mattresses over this stuff. And however it shakes out in the wash is however it shakes out in the wash. Because you can make the argument that the reason why you keep the filibuster is because you're not really confident in your electorate. And then if you get rid of the filibuster and Trump wins, now you're really screwed. So they're afraid of what the worst possible scenario is in doing some of these things, and so they don't do them. With the gerrymandering, they're not doing that. They're legitimately not doing that. They're legitimately saying, okay, you want to do this, so we're going to add 5 seats here. You want to do this, so we're going to add 5. These fights aren't that different. And I do think, the last thing I'll say, I do think that we're getting into a situation with everything that we're talking about when we look in the past, man, somewhere right now, there's an undocumented person and there is a van rolling up unmarked. They're going to snatch him off the street. Somewhere right now, there's a Black kid walking through Chicago or DC or somewhere, and there is a militarized police officer that is there's a hammer looking for a nail. That person is less safe. Somewhere there's a woman right now who is carrying the baby of her abuser and must carry that child to term and give birth to that child because of the right. We don't have time to litigate the past when we're fighting for those people right now. I just don't think we do. I think what we have to do right now is put their needs, their lives, and their situations first right now. And if that means getting rid of Hakeem Jeffries and replacing him with Nina Turner, I'm with it. If that's what that means, if that means getting rid of Chuck Schumer and if that means all of these guys are gone, I am so with you, Senator Turner. But we have to put people's lives first, and the only way we do that right now is to stop the amount of damage that the right can do to them. And that's all I'm saying. I'll give you the last word.
I get it. Listen, I tell you what, we need to do this again. We're going to see. Let's see how this works. I guarantee you that it's not going to work the way that you just laid it out. I totally understand what you're saying, and I respect everything that you just said. In terms of some of those examples that you gave, some of those examples were happening in real time, with the exception of the abortion example that you gave. I mean, President Barack Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. He deported more people than any other president in history so far. Now, certainly President Donald J. Trump is trying to see his deportations and raise his deportations.
He didn't have unmarked.
But you know what? One of my mentors, who was a councilwoman here in Cleveland, Fannie M. Lewis, used to say, it doesn't matter if you meant to kill me by accident or on purpose, dead is dead. So he did it in a more fashionable, genteel way. Those who care about the issue itself, I ain't talking about how it's done. Those who care about the issue are going to have to admit that President Barack Obama was, in fact, the deporter-in-chief. Now, we need to do something about our immigration laws. The way this president is doing is not right. But several Congresses and several presidents, both Democrats and Republicans, have failed. We have to reckon. See,
we could do this all day.
Before we get to where we're going, we got to reckon with where we have been. That is an immutable fact. But I hear everything that you're saying. My last point on all of this is that East Palestine, Ohio, which is about an hour and 30 minutes away from Cleveland. You both probably remember when Norfolk, the railroad, chemicals spewing everywhere in those people's community. Overwhelmingly white, overwhelmingly working class. In 2020 had voted for President Donald J. Trump. Certainly in 2024, I'm sure they did the same thing. You had Democrats on TV saying that those people got what they deserved because of who they voted for. Now, I went down to East Palestine, Ohio. I didn't have to go down there, but I went down there to see them. And the most shocking thing to them was not that I'm a Black woman. The most shocking thing was that a Democrat came to see them. What is your message here? Is that when people are suffering disproportionately and to the level that what happened to those people, their air, their water, their food poison, their homes, their businesses have to shut down. Who cares who they voted for? What a callous thing to say. It's the same thing with the basement full of deplorables or whatever Secretary Clinton said at the time. We are so partisan right now that we have lost our ability to care one for another. And that is how the power class, the ruling class, wants it. They want us at each other's throats. They want to blame diversity, equity, inclusion because your neighbor can't afford their eggs or their gas. They want to blame a transgender sister or brother for something that has nothing to do with them. And I'm just using examples and has everything to do with a rigged system. So my closing point, and I really got to go. I got another interview. My teacher will kill me, and I got to come back and do this with you two beautiful people again. James Baldwin once said, and he was one of the greatest novelists of the 20th century, he said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. So no matter where the three of us are on the very riveting and timely issues that we're talking about, and even the audience may agree, may disagree, hopefully one thing that we do know is that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that's really what our conversation was about today. How do we face what needs to be changed?
Absolutely. We'll leave it right there. We appreciate your time, Senator Turner. And by the way, you have an open invitation to come back anytime you want, particularly to advance the causes and the people first message and mission that you have. Okay. We might not always agree on every single thing, but I do agree and promote the existence of you and who you are and how you look at the world. So invited to come back whenever you want to. Senator
Thank
Turner.
you.
Thank you both so much, and back at you. And I really appreciate you. And until next time.
All right, bye-bye. Take your thinking caps off, but do not stop learning. I'm Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lynn Lindsay. Bye, guys.